A lot can happen in a week, some of it good, some of it bad, some of it downright ugly. When faced with intriguing developments in the week's news, we turn to a rotating panel of non-experts to parse the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. On today's panel, Mary Flood, legal consultant with Androvett Legal Media and Marketing. Celeste Díaz Schurman, co-host for one more day of Houston Public Media's Hello Houston program today from 11 to 1. And Jack Young, artistic director of the Houston Shakespeare Festival and head of the University of Houston's Professional Actor Training Program. Mary, Celeste, Jack, welcome to Houston Matters. Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for having us, Craig.
Absolutely. Panel, if you've had a sinking feeling lately, it may not be you. It could just be what part of town you're in. As Houston Public Media's Natalie Weber reported this week, portions of Katy, northern Harris County, and Montgomery County are sinking faster than other locations across greater Houston. The Harris-Galveston Subsidence District made that finding in a recent report. Its director of research, Ashley Greuter, presented that report at a public hearing Thursday. She cites rapid population growth driving higher rates of groundwater usage and notes one location in Katy has sunk about 14 inches since 2007. Houston's northern suburbs, along with Katy, are sinking and at a faster rate than the rest of greater Houston. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Mary Flood, start us off.
It's ugly, Craig. You know, we really love being number one in things, but being number one in sinking faster than any other U.S. city is really not a good one, I don't think. You know, it's kind of scary. I didn't even know we had a subsidence district, but the fact that we have one isn't really great news. And one of the things they said, well, you can avoid this if you use less water, use less oil and gas. Well, my car and my pool and my garden and my lawn are all saying, I'm not sure about that. I know we already have problems with, drought causing foundation problems and floods causing foundations problems. And I learned a couple of years ago that there are 300 faults underneath the Houston area. I learned this because some homeowners up in Montgomery County, which has some of these problems, sued their home builders, saying that they were having cracks because of a fault line, not just because of the huge drought that had caused cracks all over town. You know, we also have sinkholes. So an 84-year-old woman in an SUV almost fell completely into a sinkhole near my CVS in the fall. You know, we have so much to worry about. We have war and gun violence and plague and when the Pit season 3 will start. I think that the bottom line here is probably that we're going to see Nolan Ryan doing a lot more ads for foundation repair.
When I first heard somebody say, we all have our own little faults, I didn't realize they quite literally meant that all over greater Houston.
Right.
Good, bad, or ugly, Celeste?
I'm going to go with bad. I think, ground sinking is not a good thing. From what I understand, it's generally because of subsidence. And so I think that we don't want our floor falling out from underneath from us. But I'm not really sure what we can do about it. And so San Francisco's been sinking for a really long time, and it still seems to be there. So I'm going to go with just bad.
Okay, good, bad, or ugly, Jack.
I'll make some moment of mirth at our friends' dismay. I suppose if they're sinking out there on the western counties, that means everybody in the loop is in the Heights. Not just the Heights is in the Heights, like the whole area is the Heights. But, and I will confess, moving down here to Houston, I moved into Westbury, and I was very happy to find a house that was 5 feet above the street, practically a hill. And everybody in the neighborhood said, oh, your house has never flooded. And I said, oh, that's nice, in my naive way of not knowing what that meant. But then the drought hit, and I was informed I needed to water my foundation. I'm sorry, I need to water my foundation. Yes, you need to water your foundation. Get the garden hose out there and walk around the perimeter of your house and pour water into the dirt, or your house is going to, and they weren't wrong, because I could see the windows starting to skew and the doors starting to not hang straight and the bricks starting to. So I ended up hiring a contractor. This guy has these folks out digging a trench around the perimeter of my house, and these folks are underneath the place with these concrete cylinders, and he's inside on a walkie-talkie with a laser level going right up 3, down left 2, and I'm watching the house get chiropractic back into, and the windows went back to straight and the doors hung straight. And okay, solid ground is not solid when you remove the water, and so watering a foundation in the middle of a drought was a nice surprise for me. But welcome to the Gulf Coast.
Welcome.
Panel, it's also seaweed season in Galveston. Yes, as beachgoers can confirm, over the past several weeks, increases in sargassum have been noticeable along the Texas coast, including the beach along Galveston Island. But is it more than usual? Galveston-based extreme weather scientist Dr. Hal Needham says no, it's just part of a natural cycle this time of year. But some locals disagree. Sherry Schmidt, while walking along the Galveston shore with her husband, told Houston Public Media's Juliana Washburn, quote, "We've never seen anything like this." Another sign, NOAA announced Wednesday its usual weekly sargassum reports will be issued daily for the time being, noting the seaweed on the shoreline has become a, quote, major nuisance and an economic drain affecting tourism. Officials with the Galveston Park Board say seaweed buildup has yet to meet depth and height thresholds before officials can actually remove and relocate it. The sargassum's back in Galveston. Is this good, bad, or ugly, Celeste?
Well, not to be sarcastic, but I definitely... I had to. Come on. We all wanted somebody to do it.
I thought his pun was bad. That's
bad.
Well done.
It's ugly. Right, besides my pun, this is just, I think, ugly. I wish we could find some ways to actually use the sargassum and.
Well, in fact, that is one of the things they do. Is when they relocate it to spaces that shore up, portions of shoreline or reefs or something like that. There is some potential benefit to the relocation, but there has to be enough of it to make it worth the expense to
right. And
haul
we're
it all
kind
away.
of in between that space, that time, right? So unfortunately, it's just going to be ugly and it's going to be there. I do think that this is where I feel very relieved to have experts in this field that can find ways to make this turn something that's kind of ugly into a positive and use it better for our environment. I mean, I definitely feel for people that live in Galveston or anybody that's visiting. I know from personal experience, I was in Cancun and there was seaweed everywhere. And you're like, well, I just paid for a very expensive vacation to sit here around seaweed. So it's just ugly. And I hope that we can continue to find ways that we can make it a benefit.
So you want to turn sargassum into sargassum aid. Good, bad, or ugly, Jack?
I don't know. This is sort of along the lines of the concern, I guess, last week before about the love bugs. Good, bad, or ugly. It is what it is. It's the Gulf Coast, so the love bugs are going to show up. The seaweed's going to show up, and so it's been here longer than we have, and it will be here long after we leave. And so it's kind of like if you're late to the party, you don't get to complain about the spread. So you were late. You don't get a corner piece of the cake. So you're late. Somebody's picked all the cashews out of the nuts, and so no. There's probably some things floating around in the dip that weren't there when they first put it out there. So, if you're late to the spread. And so if we're going to have nice Januaries where you can walk around in T-shirts and shorts and go swimming in the Gulf, a warm January means seaweed in May. April showers bring May flowers. I guess January good weather brings you seaweed in May. We wrap it around the sushi. You don't complain. So... I don't know if that's where it ends up, but...
I just learned that Jack Young steals all of the cashews from the mixed nuts.
Not me, man. Not me.
Good, bad, or ugly, Mary?
I think it's all three. I think it's good because, there's this like nature and cyclical and part of rebuilding the dunes. And it's bad because it's a nuisance and it's in the way and it smells. And it's ugly because it puts off like Houston sulfide or something, Houston hydrogen sulfide or something like that. And the EPA says it can hurt your heart and your nerve system and your respiratory system. That's bad. So but it being brown, Galveston's already got a lot of brown, and the water's so churned up when the water's actually blue, it makes the news. So brown, and the smell. I mean, it already smells kind of fishy down there. Nobody's having Johnny Depp do a mysterious ad-looking Deppy and for cologne named Galveston. But there's so much fun stuff to do in Galveston other than stare at the water, which is what I like, or at night watching those oil tankers go by. So romantic. But you can go buy stuff you don't need on the Strand, and you can go to rides on the pier and to Moody Gardens, and you can do my favorite thing, which is the ferry to Bolivar, not with a car, but with just walking on the ferry to Bolivar, because there are all those dolphins going next to you and the pterodactyls. Some people call them something else. What is that?
Pelicans?
But the
Pelicans.
pterodactyls
Yeah.
that are flying over us.
Pterodactyls.
Pelicans. And you can't see the seaweed from there. So take the ferry.
We do not have pterodactyls in
They're
Galveston.
pterodactyls.
Not yet.
They're pterodactyls.
Not yet.
Take a look. They're pterodactyls. They're relatives.
Panel, ChatGPT-maker Open AI posted its latest Codex CLI last week. This is basically the open source code of instructions for the popular generative AI system. Contained among some of the less interesting code were instructions to some of the AI tools to stop talking about goblins. The company, in a blog post Thursday, noted it had spotted increased mentions of the mythological creatures in ChatGPT responses, but not just goblins. The instructions indicated the generative AI should, quote, never talk about goblins, gremlins, raccoons, trolls, ogres, pigeons, or other animals or creatures unless it is absolutely and unambiguously relevant to the user's query, unquote. Naturally, I wondered if this was limited to ChatGPT, so I asked Google's Gemini, have you ever been instructed not to talk about goblins, gremlins, raccoons, trolls, ogres, or pigeons? The reply, not at all. I'm free to chat about any of those. Gemini went on to note it hasn't received any anti-goblin or gremlin silencing manifestos. ChatGPT starts mentioning certain creatures, some real, some mythological, a little too much, prompting instruction to lay off the goblin metaphors. Is this good, bad, or ugly, Jack?
I think it's good. I think we're finding out just the relative maturity of each of these models as they go forward. And it seems to me that maybe ChatGPT, if we're going to track it in terms of its growing maturity, it's sort of in the K through 3 level, because these topics all seem like the library offerings in an elementary school, because it's the Nobby Boys to the rescue, or the raccoons, or the gremlins, and maybe the other one just hasn't got there to that set of books.
If we get instructions, if we learn about instructions to ChatGPT to lay off the booger references, then I'll know you're
So,
right in the K through 3 territory.
Captain Underpants,
Yeah.
then we'll really know where they are. But
Goosebumps.
eventually it'll mature and it'll become maybe Hunger Games and Mean Girls, and then eventually maybe get into Bridget Jones' Diary and the Roman Empire, and finally it'll get to like the History Channel and do World War II and the British Baking Channel. So we'll know it have finally reached AARP when those references are going that way. I don't know how long it'll take that to evolve, but we can track it that way.
Wow. Good, bad, or ugly, Mary?
Well, I also think it's good because it's hilarious. I don't really understand the list. It's sort of like a real easy SAT list. What doesn't go in this list? Because raccoons and pigeons aren't imaginary as far as I know, and everybody else is.
But don't let the pigeon drive
the rest
bus.
on the list are. But AI is already just so hilarious itself. One of my clients had a big win recently, but like 6 media covered it. We put out a press release. Everybody got it right except AI, and they switched who won and who lost all over AI. And I'm just like, yeah, this is just remarkable and sometimes hilarious. Like when they tell you to eat rocks or glue pizza and stuff like that. But the goblins and raccoons, I sort of understand how they got in there because they're both sly and they hang out at night. But the pigeons really seem odd to me because I just put up a new bird feeder, and it's basically a very thin box. And the pigeons' close relatives, doves, they're having a lot of trouble with it. I've got cardinals and
pterodactyls, apparently.
And warblers. But the doves are coming and they're using it as a swing and they're trying to eat and they can't figure it out. And I'm just thinking the pigeons really don't have a lot in common with these other guys. But the one that trolls, what makes me think of trolls more than the internet is these little dolls I used to get when I was younger, like in the 70s. And they had like Marge Simpson hair. And I just hope we never get to a point where AI says that you shouldn't talk about Marge Simpson hair.
All right. Good, bad, or ugly, Celeste.
I would agree with our other two panelists. I think this is good because I feel like we still have some control over AI. Pretty practical reason right there. I think AI is really scary. And then whenever I heard the words goblins and gremlins and raccoons, I was like, oh, it's really, really scary. No, but I do think it's good. And I'm all for a good old conspiracy theory as to why goblins and gremlins keep coming up. So I'm interested. I might have to ask about that.
Yeah, as I understand it, apparently they've been trying to train ChatGPT to be a bit more nerdy. That's the argument. I don't know. None of it makes any
Guardians
sense
of the
to me
Galaxy
anymore.
raccoons.
There you go. Who knows? Mary Flood's a legal consultant with Androvett Legal Media and Marketing. Celeste Díaz Schurman co-hosts today's Hello Houston from 11 to 1 on News 88.7. Jack Young is artistic director of the Houston Shakespeare Festival. Thank you all very much.
Thank you,
Thank you for having us.
Have a good weekend.